I'll read the text, if I may. Following the publication of the paper Apologising for Historic Wrongs, produced by the Theological Forum, acknowledge and regret the terrible harm caused to all those who suffered from accusations and prosecutions under Scotland's historic witchcraft laws, the majority of whom were women, and apologise for the role of the Church of Scotland and the General Assembly in such historical persecution. This builds on the main Faith Impact Report, section 1.3, which says, the Forum appreciates the First Minister's statement on International Women's Day, that was the 8th of March 2022, apologising for the way in which predominantly women were accused and condemned for witchcraft, and acknowledges that often the Church played a part in feeding the fury, and deeply regrets that to be the case. Earlier this month, since Faith Impact's report went into print, the Theological Forum published on its website the paper Apologising for Historic Wrongs, written on its behalf by Professor Glenn Pettigrove, Chair of Moral Philosophy at the University of Glasgow and a member of the Theological Forum. Yesterday afternoon, the value of this document was spoken about on the floor of this Assembly, and reading it before today's debate was recommended. I hope some of you have had time to look at it. The paper dissects very thoughtfully and in far more detail than I can do justice to here what we mean by an apology. First, at its simplest, when one person apologises to another, how sometimes we make an apology for something we ourselves have not done. To quote the report, a parent can apologise to her neighbour for the window her children broke when playing ball in the garden, without anyone thinking she is to blame for the broken window. The paper also explores what a group apology means, and more specifically, what it means when a group apology is offered for offences that predate any of the group's current members. The paper also discusses how apologising for historic wrongs is not about shouldering the blame now, personally, for what happened in the past, nor is it about misapplying today's standards to past actors. Rather, apologising for historic wrongs is about standing in solidarity with the innocents who suffered, acknowledging and regretting the harm that came to them as a result of actions by the Church in the past, setting the record straight by affirming the dignity of the people that our forerunners wrote off, and acknowledging the suffering caused by past norms and policies that we no longer accept. Importantly, apologising for historic wrongs can be a step towards reconciling with those who are alienated from the Church now by what the Church has done in the past. And to bring this really close to home, I'd like to point out to you that tonight on BBC Two, there is a programme investigating witch hunts, which will look specifically at the case of Agnes Sampson of East Lothian, healer, midwife, wise woman to her community, who was burnt at the stake on Castle Hill, probably not 100 yards from here, in 1591. So, in the name of Agnes and her like, given what the main report says to acknowledge and regret the part the Church played in feeding the witchcraft fury, and the helpful framework that thinking about this, that apologising for historic wrongs has now provided, I hope the convener will be minded to support this deliverance.
Seconded?
Second.
The convener is of a mind to accept this. There is no questions. Is the Assembly of a mind to accept it?